What's going on, everybody? Kind of early here on Saturday morning, at least early for me. It's like 8 a.m. So I know for all you East Coasters out there, it's probably around like 10 or so. So, kind of mid-morning for you guys. But today we got a special guest. We got Mr. TechDufus, who was gracious enough to let me put him on for an interview. So let's go ahead and let's bring him on. Hey, how you doing, Doofus?
Hey, good.
Man, I appreciate it. There's just bricks being thrown everywhere.
I don't know who's doing it. I don't know. It wasn't me.
Oh, man. Well, appreciate you coming on, man. So I guess why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, like maybe your overview, your technical background and maybe how it all got started.
Sure. So I'm TechDufus. I didn't inherit that name. I earned the name. I started out, what's weird is I guess my tech journey started when I was in 6th grade. I knew exactly what college I wanted to go to, what degree, what bachelor's degree I wanted in 6th grade. Fact, I went into networking. Through college, I got my networking bachelor's. My last semester of college, I had an internship in a IT support at a company, and that internship eventually turned into my first big boy gig that lasted almost 5 years. Starting out in support I think is great for new people, right? That's why a lot of new tech jobs, you start out in help desk, right? And it sucks, but there's a reason for that, right? You just have to learn everything. You get exposure to all the things. And so one of the things that I started that was my gateway drug into kind of what I do now is PowerShell, which is at the time it was a Windows only scripting automation language. And you just write scripts. It's kind of like Bash for Linux. It's just an automation language. And eventually PowerShell became cross-platform, so you can install it everywhere, and that just kind of blew up. And so I developed PowerShell for 8 years. And although until recently I didn't really classify myself as a programmer, I just thought of myself as a scripter. But really PowerShell was teaching me a lot about how programming works, how if-then loops work, for loop logic, and just how modules work and stuff like that. So anyway, PowerShell is kind of the main theme that really kickstarted my brain to learn other things eventually. I've worked for a couple companies. I went from support into DevOps, into a full stack engineer, which is really where the bulk of my development experience comes from, being a Go developer on a full stack team. And currently I'm a senior lead engineer with Lumen on our platform engineering team, which is kind of like the new DevOps. I could go into platform engineering, but that's kind of my background is, I started from support, kind of just a doofus. And now I'm a capital D doofus,
Nice, man. Dude, that's impressive, man. And actually Lumen is our fiber provider as well for Terra. So that's kind of cool, man. What a long journey, man. But it's really, I guess it all just starts from doing the help desk and the IT support is where people build their foundation to get started.
Yeah. I talked to a lot of people that are in a help desk role currently, and they hate it. How do I get out of here? And I'm like, you just started. You really need there's so much you can learn from help desk. If you don't know what you want to be when you grow up, support's where it's at, because you deal with hardware, you deal with application support, you deal with infrastructure. Find what you want while you're in support, and then that'll help you, pick what you want to do
out
later.
But find what
yeah,
you want
exactly.
To do. Yeah. So I guess what would you say your expertise is as far as being a developer?
My expertise is being professionally lazy. So what that means is I love to automate stuff. I hate doing real work. I would just rather write a script to do it. And sometimes you spend 5 hours on a script for something that you could just do manually for 5 minutes and you never do again. But I would still argue it's still more valuable to automate the thing. So that's kind of expertise is just automation in general, and there's a lot of tools and things that let you automate in different areas. But that's what I would say is my thing. So
Okay, well, I guess that also answers why I choose automation. Just from your answer being lazy, I guess. But I love it though; it's great.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are some of the things that you say that you would automate? You know what I mean? Like, what type of platforms or softwares you use for your automation?
Sure. So I have a small home lab. I've got a server with Proxmox, and so I use it for automating provisioning VMs. So I honestly, right now, if I shared my screen, I could almost not create an Ubuntu virtual machine in Proxmox manually. Clicking the buttons, create, clone, do this setting. I can't do that. I use Terraform. It's all just configuration in some text files, and then Terraform goes and makes the 20 VMs that I want. They all have their own IPs and names and all that stuff. So yeah, and you can use Terraform wherever. At a couple jobs ago, I wrote in a CI platform, if we ever wanted to make a change to, like, we wanted to add a database server to our dev environment, let's say, which is made up of 2 database servers, 3 like front end web servers, a load balancer, a backend server, just a whole ecosystem of infrastructure. You can have Terraform recreate that entire environment in like a sandbox, and then you can have scripts that test things. Hey, once we've added this new VM, does all the IPing still work? Can each server still ping the other one? Are these ports still open? Terraform can create like an entire test infrastructure that you can test against, and if all your tests pass, Terraform will destroy that test environment and apply the new VM to your real dev environment or your real prod environment. So that's a really cool example for using Terraform.
Cool. That's actually the next thing on my list to learn from you is Terraform.
Well, I want to start making some. It sucks because I only have one server, so I'm gonna have to like destroy everything I have to make a video about how to like go from fresh Proxmox to exactly what I just said, deploying Flux nodes on demand with Terraform. One command, you're done. So I have a home lab for Terraform. Obviously, Terraform just makes the VM, and I use Ansible to configure all the VMs, right? Once you have a fresh Ubuntu, it's a fresh Ubuntu. I got to get stuff on here and configure it, and I need my Minecraft server up now, So I've got Ansible that does all that stuff, which Ansible's just, it SSHs in and does things.
So I guess the next thing would be to get into is what is Ansible? Because I've been talking about that a lot, as far as like, for my company, which I learned it from you. So once again, thank you. But yeah, maybe you could, tell everybody what is Ansible and what does it do?
Sure. I'll piggyback off of how I just explained Terraform. So Terraform can be summarized as infrastructure as code. So your infrastructure is out there in the world. You've got 10 servers. Those 10 servers are defined in your config files. Ansible is like it would be called configuration as code. So instead of, I have to go check a VM to see what setting it is or go to a VM and change something, I define the configuration that I want in these config files. And then when you run Ansible, it'll just go and make it happen. How it's configured in Ansible is how it will be in the real world. So configuration as code, I know exactly how my servers and things are configured because I can go and see the last time I ran Ansible, these are the tasks, these are the URLs and the settings and stuff. So that's what Ansible is you define how you want your server to be configured, what packages are installed, what firewall rules, SSH keys, all that stuff. And then it can go and just apply it to 1,000 servers all at once. It doesn't matter. That's Ansible. Automation. It's cool. So high level.
I guess the next question is kind of seeing what you do, as a day job and, and how you got into it. I guess, how'd you hear about Flux? Were you a crypto miner or did you come in from the tech side of it? You know what I mean? From their, as a company, or how did you first hear about the Flux project?
Sure. Yeah. So as a casual emphasis on casual minor, I'm pretty sure it was just I stumbled on a Your Friend Andy video, and he kept talking about how, I think this is still true, but at the time Flux was like by far his biggest holding, and I was like, if this dude, he like, I looked at all of his videos, and he's got videos on so many projects, but right, Flux is still by far his biggest holding. I was like, there's something about Flux. What is this Flux? I have to know. And that's really what it was. It's just his YouTube video. I found the Discord eventually. And yeah, I was a community member for a while before I joined the team. So that's how I found Flux.
So I guess the next question is well, how do you join the team? Like, did you ask them, or did they approach you, or how's that story go?
Yeah. Now I'm trying to remember. So for a while, I just spun up a bunch of nodes. I used to be pretty active in community support, believe it or not, helping people with their nodes and stuff. And eventually I started getting really interested in the multi-toolbox, being an automator, scripter. I just was looking at multi-toolbox, I'm pretty sure I made a couple PRs on GitHub, pull requests, which is like a request to change some code in GitHub. And at the time, I just had some chats with Greggy Bear on some other things, and had an interview to be like a Docker person or just whatever. And did join the team. And I kind of have been able to do a bunch of different things since I've joined. But I think the moral of that story is I was involved first before I approached trying to join the team. Like, I was involved in the community, involved in the GitHub stuff. So I kind of backed up my words with action. Like, I can prove I've been interested in Flux for a while and doing stuff. Yeah.
Right. A lot of community involvement, stuff like that. Being involved is kind of how you got into it. Well, all right. Now that we kind of learned like how you joined Flux and about your background, what advice can you give to other people, I guess, who are wanting to maybe to learn automation or about being a developer? What would be your first piece of advice? Let's say they had no experience, but they're interested in this. What would the advice that you would give them?
If you didn't have technical knowledge, I guess I would say, do you know any technical people? And like, ask for help. I used to struggle with this a lot. My ego would get in the way, and it's like, I can do this. I'm going to figure it out. I don't need anybody else. I kind of got burnt by some people that I thought would help and didn't, and that kind of burnt me from asking for help. But really, like, ask for help. People want to help. People, like, their egos sometimes are why they want to help, right? They want to be the smart person, and if they can teach somebody, it's like, so for whatever their motivation is, ask somebody for help. If you don't know any technical knowledge, ask somebody that has it, and ask them, how do you start? So now that you are all acquainted with Dufus, a technical person, how do you start? I would say, like help desk, simple stuff. Sometimes whatever operating system you want to be on, you kind of have to know that operating system, right? If you want to be a Windows fanboy, you have to learn the registry. You have to learn about how Windows works before you can support applications or infrastructure that's running Windows. Same thing for Linux, right? I would not suggest Windows. I would suggest Linux, but that's just an example. If you want to learn Linux, you have to use it, right? I was thinking back to in college, I barely used like Linux in college, and I remember how cool I felt just remembering the apt update commands. Like, I know how to update Ubuntu, and you don't. You're such a loser. Like, here, apt update, upgrade -y. Like, I thought I was so cool because I could remember like apt update, upgrade, and then like auto remove. But that's the extent of like the Linux stuff I learned in college. It wasn't until like I started actually using it, and I had a reason to be in Linux. So that's the other thing is, in school and in college, like, homework sucks. Homework is not fun, but like, you have to give yourself homework and projects and things to work on. That's like what most of open source is some nerd is just like, I want to work on a thing. I don't know. I just want to work on it. And they go and work on something. So find something that you can automate, or like for me, eventually, maybe you can't do this right away, but like start a home lab. If you want to practice infrastructure and learn about how like disk IO works and different, like what is the difference between a SAS drive and solid state and the drivers for that. If you want to learn that stuff, the best way to learn is to do. I'm going to quote my homeboy Jesus for a sec. Jesus says, do not be hearers only, but doers, right? It's like, don't just read books. Don't just watch YouTube videos. Like eventually you have to go and do the thing for you to learn it. Right. And so I don't want to just talk about automation only, because if you want to be just a programmer or some people are career IT support. So like whatever the thing is, you have to go and do it. You have to help your grandma with her laptop if you want to get into stuff. Right. I remember one time my sister didn't have Wi-Fi for a while. So I hacked the neighbor's Wi-Fi. Anyway, so like do it in the real world. I regret doing that, but, don't hack Wi-Fi, but I got the password for her for like a week until she could get some internet. Anyway, that was a long time ago. But yeah, you just got to do things, kind of right? Yeah.
That's kind of what I tell people too, is like, if you want to get into Linux, to not be scared by it. And I mean, learning all the stuff that I've learned, I've broken it many times. Right. And sometimes you have to delete the VM and start over, right? Because sometimes it's just easier just to start fresh again. Right. And do like a rinse and repeat. So I think that you need to not be afraid of it. And if you break it or whatever, it's just a VM, right? Just delete it, start it over and do it again. And, eventually you'll figure it out. It's kind of how I've been doing it, to not be intimidated by it, which a lot of people are, but I'm kind of like you need to be a doer and just actually do it, and you'll figure it out and it'll click.
Yeah. I'm going to sound like an old man here, but back in my day, so I'm thinking of a great example. In Windows, you have WSL, which stands for Windows Subsystem for Linux, which later Windows 10 and now Windows 11 comes with the Linux kernel built into Windows. And so you can launch a Linux VM in something called WSL. So if you need to research that, go for it. And in WSL, there is a reset button. So if you want to learn Linux, but you don't have an extra computer or whatever, you can do it in Windows. You just launch a terminal and it'll get you into a Linux VM. It's just the terminal, right? It's not a GUI. It's not a desktop. And if you mess something up, there's a reset button. And in like 2 minutes or less, for us, resetting a VM was like 20 minutes to re-image a disk or stuff like that. Now, these young whippersnappers have a reset button on Linux. So it's so easy to just get in, break stuff, reset it, and start over. And like take notes on the stuff that works. Well, last time I got to this point, I ran these 4 commands. This 5th one is what broke. So that's what I need to work on, is fix this 5th one, and then I can continue. Take a lot of notes. You got to be able to go back and reference the progress that you've made.
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely lots of notes. Yeah. Lots of notes being taken down. I have the TechDufus cheat sheet that I've been building.
The thing I made in like 4 minutes, you're treating it like the gospel.
I've been adding on to it. So it's,
yeah. That's
man, that is crazy. I guess, do you want to share your GitHub or anything like that, or do you have anything you maybe want to show people on screen or anything, like a little demo? Or
I could show some of the stuff I like kind of worked on over the years. Like I'm sad. I like PowerShell is such a big reason why I'm where I am, and I said it once before to somebody. I think it's a good analogy. Like, PowerShell taught my brain how to be more technical. Like, I couldn't know Kubernetes and the interworkings, the security of like RKE2 between the nodes, and how like the kubelet service on a node secures the containers from the host and stuff. Like all this stuff, I couldn't know it if I hadn't learned PowerShell. It was like my brain was not ready to accept the knowledge. And I think that's true for a lot of people. They want to go and learn the cool new flashy thing, but like same with my, like, you got to start an IT help desk example. Is like, you have to start with some foundational knowledge that you build on top of. You can't learn this thing because you just don't have these things. And so if we went to GitHub, all that to say, I could show off we could roast some of my early PowerShell code, I guess, if we wanted to. Let me pull up a browser. I've never, I guess I just click this present button, right? I've never shared on this.
Yeah, and then you can present either the whole window or like your screen, or you can do a specific window.
All right, share screen. I don't want to share my whole screen because my monitor is 49 inches. How do I share an application?
Curb screens.
I do. I've got 3. You know, I'll pull up a picture or something. Follow these steps. I don't want to share my whole screen though. What's going on here? Share screen. Oh, now I get to pick the window. You know, I will share a whole screen. That'll just be easier. Let me share this one. Share. You see my mouse up here?
Let's see working? Add the stage. There we go.
Okay, cool. I'm going to be looking over here. I have so many screens. My camera's here. I'm over here. Enjoy my defined jawline and my triple chin. Okay, so here's my GitHub. I got to find an old repo.
71. Man, you got a lot of them.
Yeah, well, thank you. I have forked a lot of things. So here's a PowerShell module called Help Desk, which I made when I was doing Help Desk. Again, it's easier to do something when it's like related to something you're doing, right? I was in Help Desk, and so how do I want to learn PowerShell? So let me just automate the crap I work on, right? So this module, if you're in Windows or if anyone can relate to a lot of this stuff, this module is just a bunch of typical PowerShell, typical help desk things. See whose account is locked out, reset passwords, unlock them. And this is going to be a lot, but let me go to functions, public, enable and disable Active Directory accounts, get computer information, get user information from Active Directory. Here's a new password generator. I'll probably crack some of these open, but the way I structure this looks like a lot, but at the end of the day, it's like a couple lines. Here's some documentation, but this whole function is literally a wrapper for one command because I didn't want to memorize that command. So I made a function called enable account that takes in a parameter and enables that account. But one thing, and I was, that's a tool I wanted to use. So I built it myself, and then this is all just built-in documentation for PowerShell, but this is the function, and you just build it's just a bunch of small things, practice over and over and over. Oh, this is a big one. This is weird. Active Directory kind of sucks. I'm glad I don't do it anymore, but anyway, let's not look at that one. Where is my get locked out users? That one was fun.
And I guess too, while he's going over this, if you guys have any questions in the crowd, feel free and go ahead and ask away, man. Ask this guy something. Come on. Yeah. I know Jeffkey has a question. I know he's going to ask something hard.
He just wants to roast me. That's all. But so here's just examples of just come out, just do stuff. It was really intimidating for me to make this stuff public. So I'm like, man, my code sucks. People can't see my code. And that was a huge hurdle that I eventually crossed, is like, it's easy to think that everyone else is such an expert. Like, how dare you even put yourself out there? Right. That was a big hurdle. And that helped my career, is like, I'm just a doofus. Everyone else is a doofus at something or a lot of things, some more than others. Right. But if you can get over that, you will benefit yourself. And a lot of times that comes out in, I can't ask someone for help because if I ask this question, they're going to know I'm stupid. They're going to know I don't understand how Kerberos authentication works. It's like whatever it is, just ask the question. People want to help. And so a lot of this was, I had to ask for a lot of help on a lot of this stuff to eventually get a polished, finished product or whatever. Some would argue this one's not polished, but anyway, here's an example. Just over time, this module turned out kind of big. I don't know. There's like 20 commands in here. So, what was really cool, this is actually a cool thing because I put myself out here for a couple years. No one used this. This was out on the internet. No one used it. Eventually, one of my friends picked it up and his company's help desk started using this, which was crazy to me. If that wasn't cool enough for me, he said, hey, we all use this. It would be really cool if this command had this one feature. And I was like, man, that'd be a really cool feature. So we worked together, we got it built, and it was just really cool to have something that like other people used. That was my first example of that. And that was so cool to me.
That's awesome though, man. That they use it at at another company, you know what I mean? That they took advantage of that, which is kind of like, using Ansible from you know what I mean, for Terra. So it's awesome, man.
Well, we could pull that up too.
Puma has a question though, trivia question for Doofus fans.
Trivia. I have not paid attention to chat at all. So
he says, who was the first person to call him Husky?
Oh gosh. Was it Bill? I think it was Bill. Cypherpunk. So I've been a wrestler my whole life. Let me give this Husky nonsense some context. I've been a wrestler my whole life. I've been chugging Mountain Dew and eating honey buns, but I still was fit, right? You'd have 2-a-day practices my whole life. And then when I got my internship, so the reason I got that internship that last semester of college was mainly because I broke my arm a few months before that. And I couldn't wrestle my senior year. So it's like, I might as well start looking for a job or an internship or whatever. So going from 2-a-days my whole life to now I'm sitting at a desk and I don't have a coach breathing down my neck to work hard, got kind of fluffy. So I remember working so hard before Cypherpunk to just do it. I was doing so many push-ups and I thought I was looking great. And then Bill's like, oh, you're huskier than I thought you'd be or something like that. It was totally playful, but everyone just ate that up and now I'm just husky. So, which is true, but, Here I thought I was great, and then a little dose of reality. You're sucking in a little harder than you should be. So that's where Husky comes from. Thanks, man. Puma. I appreciate you for bringing that up live. It's really
there we go. Well, it shows that was the first roast question. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. Oh, let me pull up. And I never use my mouse. I'm not clicking very well. Let's go. Oh, here it is. Flux node install. So this is what you're talking about. So here's just another example of I like Ansible. I'm doing Flux. I want to just start a project and learn more and do more Ansible. I need an excuse to do Ansible. What can I come up with? And so there's a couple of us that have worked on this. President, Carr, Ramrod, Moat, Puma's in here. Puma, I think you got your face on this because you changed one word in documentation, but you've earned this spot on this repo. But yeah, so I wanted to do more Ansible. So what's something that we could improve in the ecosystem for Flux? And I want to use this. A lot of us use Ansible. And by us, I mean Flux node operators that have more than one node. We have all been Ansibling our nodes, but they've all been wrappers around the multi-toolbox. Multi-toolbox has been the only way to install nodes. And Ansible, multi-toolbox gives you so much output in your terminal, but you don't get any of that when you run it from Ansible. So we're I want to know what the errors are and whatnot. So long story short story long, whichever. We examined multi-toolbox and took out all the pieces that we need individually to stand up a Flux node with pure Ansible. There's no more multi-toolbox. Multi-toolbox is great for one node, but for some of us that have 20, 30, 40 nodes and we want to update our Discord webhook on them all, you've got to SSH in to all 40 and update each file individually, right? So this is a workaround for that. So Ansible is a agentless configuration as code tool. And so all that means is it's agentless. You don't have to install anything on the VMs that you want to use Ansible against. It just needs SSH access, and that's it. And Ansible can get in and do whatever, right? So the way we use this for Flux. So it SSHs into all your Flux nodes and then does all the things in order to run Flux. Let's just look at the daemon tasks. Daemon install. So here's an example of, let me make this a little bigger, my old man eyes. We have to add an apt repo. So you have to add that apt repos, get out of here. The apt repos key, the apt repo itself, this is the Flux repo. This makes sure that a folder exists, the folder.flux. Just make sure the folder exists. Make sure there's a landing page. When we extract the bootstrap, the folder's got to be there. So this is again an example of our config that we've defined. And I can just look at these files and see this is telling that file to be there. This is using apt to go and do an apt install Flux, apt install Flux bench, and I can define, I want these packages installed. This copies out a file. I won't get into templates, but you can see here, like, this is just, Ansible's just one task at a time saying this piece of config should exist. This next piece of config should exist. And when it comes to scripting, it's very easy to get lost sometimes on like what parts of a bash script or a PowerShell script even run. I've done this before where I'm like I'm nested in like 10 nested if statements trying to do something, and my code just looks awful. And it's like, if you got to troubleshoot something, well, which if statement are you even getting to? So you got to like print out output on so many lines, try to figure out where in your script are you even going. Ansible may be much easier for you to read because it just goes down one task at a time, right? So that's a perk. But anyway, yeah, this Flux node install. So just a project. This is out here and working. There's a lot of documentation out here if you wanted to use it. It's not really for beginners because Ansible is not really for a beginner. But if you want to learn Ansible, here's a great way, an excuse to go and try to use Ansible. So anyway, here's this. And so you were saying how you use Flux node install for Terra, right? I don't know if you want to maybe give a little sales pitch on how it's helped you. You don't have all your nodes out here yet, but maybe how has this project like helped you learn Ansible and SSH and maybe more about your nodes and stuff?
So yeah, at Terra, like, we're just launching more nodes, right? Right now we're a little on, we've maxed out and we're getting more infrastructure up to build more nodes, but I have had to build all the nodes manually, and I know how long that can take. I used to I would build the nodes bare and I would for the collateral I would put dummy, right, just a bunch of times in there, and I would have the nodes would just be there, right, ready to launch, and I would just reconfigure them, and literally I would be building nodes like 10 to 20 nodes a day, you know what I mean, in advance for this. And now I don't have to do that, right? As long as I don't have Terraform yet, but it's like if I have a bare VM and I have a way for Ansible to SSH to that, it's literally like, I don't know, 2 minutes to build nodes. I mean, if that, so it's amazing how much time this will save you. If you're running multi-nodes, like even if you're doing it from home, if you have 8 nodes, you can configure all 8 of your nodes in Ansible. So this will really lighten up your load. Yeah, man, this thing is a godsend, at least for me. Saves me lots of time. Which, I mean, the multi-toolbox is really good, and it is pretty scripted, right? But it takes a lot of time to go through the steps, right? One at a time to be able to complete the node install. So I definitely love using Ansible. And thanks again for teaching me, Mr. Dufus.
Another perk of just Ansible for you in general is you guys host more than just Flux nodes, right? So the more you learn about Ansible, maybe that'll leak into your career, right? Or whatever you want to do, right? So just like, I think a lot of people, going back to like, what advice would you give a new person, right? Is sometimes you may not have a great example of a tool that you can learn for your job at that moment that will help you in that moment. Sometimes it just sucks and you have to learn outside of work for the type of job that you do want, right? Some people have a job that they maybe they have learned everything they can from help desk. They hate it. They can't, their job won't allow them PowerShell. They don't have Active Directory rights to do any of that stuff. They have to use a program. I've dealt with that. You can't automate your stuff with PowerShell because your business doesn't let you, right? So if you're there, you just kind of have to put your head down for a little bit, sacrifice some life to learn the thing if you want to do it. It's not hard. It's just a trade-off, right? So
exactly.
like you may have to learn Ansible without a work-related reason to learn Ansible. And I've had to do that a lot. And then it's harder. It's easy to learn skills when you do them for work. 8 hours every day, forever. Like it's easy to learn something when you spend that much time on it. But when you have to give up time with your family and stuff to learn something and you're struggling because it's 9 o'clock and you're tired and your kids are in bed now and this is the only time you have to study. Like it can be hard if you, but like, no, it can be done. So many people have done it. And there are so many people that want to help you, right? That's literally the only reason I started streaming PowerShell. That's how I started streaming, by the way. I haven't streamed PowerShell in a while, but like I live stream on Twitch and I'm trying to stream on YouTube and stuff. But like I started because all the tech people out there that stream, they seem like they're the experts at that thing.
Right.
Like the only PowerShell people that would stream are like the PowerShell big hitters. Like they're making the modules that have millions of downloads and they're just like, I feel so dumb asking this big PowerShell giant a question on stream. So my niche is I'm just an idiot. Like my stream is where we can all just be comfortable being a doofus, right? And like just help each other. And ego goes out the window. Who cares? Let's all just help each other. And I wish, I just wish there was more of that. So that's why I stream. And so just find someone that will help you. Don't abuse it sometimes. Right? You can ask all day, every day, and then maybe they're a little burnt out from helping you, but like there are people want to help, right? So reach out.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffkey, for the $2.79 Canadian, which I think that's a penny in US. Thank you, Jeffkey.
That's like a teaspoon of maple syrup or something. Right? Is that if my conversion's correct? I think it's
go doofus, man. Thank you, Mr. Jeffkey. And then we do have a question in the crowd though for you from Mr. Max Voltage here, but he says maybe I missed it, but Mr. Doofus, have you built an Ansible module for installing Proxmox VMs with Flux nodes or Flux core instances? So he did kind of cover that with Terraform about building his VMs, but I'll let him answer that question.
Yeah. So if you mean, so I'm going to follow up your question with a follow-up question. So there are Ansible modules. If that's what you actually mean, a technical Ansible module written in Python. No, I haven't written one for Proxmox. I think there's one that does exist, but I don't think it lets you do all of the settings that I'm about to show off. If mine and KiiNG, you're okay with me showing my anime terminal here. So what we've done, and by we, I mean like me, Moat does this a little differently. I might argue that his is a little better. His is a little easier to change than mine. So I'll just run through it real fast. This is from a fresh Proxmox. I just installed it. I can SSH in as root. I've got disks in there, but nothing's done. Right? No templates are made. No VMs are created. None of that stuff. The first thing I do is I have a Proxmox playbook. I run Ansible against that freshly installed Proxmox. So let me just go to this Proxmox. That's Portiner Proxmox roll. And there's a few things that I do. I have to change the apt settings in Proxmox because by default it comes with an apt repo that's like subscriber only. Well, I get rid of that, add the free one. And then I do a bunch of stuff to set up Terraform access. Proxmox has some APIs that you have to be able to, Terraform has to be able to access that with a user and a password. I don't want it to use root because, again, I want to practice. If I was doing this for a business or something, they wouldn't want it to use root either. Yeah, so I want to practice, like, how do I set up a user with least privilege, give it only the rights it needs? So I've written Terraform, or I've written Ansible that sets all that up. Again, this is all public, TechDufus /home.io on GitHub. So it makes a user in Terraform, it makes a role, adds them to the role, gives them a bunch of permissions and stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then this is the part where I have Ansible make my templates. So I have it make a base Ubuntu 20 and a base Ubuntu 22 image. Here's my 22 example. So I go and download the latest Cloud Init Ubuntu image, and then I'm running all these commands. These are just raw Proxmox commands that you would run. I just have Ansible running them to create the VM, create a disk, add that disk, set the storage type, blah, 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 right? You can look through this stuff. Shameless plug. Thank you, Moat. Thank you. So this makes my templates, and maybe I can pull up my actual Proxmox real fast. Don't roast me. I don't have a CA. Ah, crap. Hang on. Live demo. All right. There's my thing. So here's my Proxmox. It just makes these base templates, and then this is where I make the rest of these from. Is my Terraform will clone the Ubuntu 22 template that was made and make a bunch of VMs all at once. I could show this off real quick if we want to kill some time.
Yeah, you can go ahead. Yeah, show a demo.
All right. So, let me get back in here. So my Terraform here. So again, Ansible makes the template VM, and then Terraform does the heavy lifting from there. So getting to this point where we can use Terraform now, I think I'm answering the question. How do I use Ansible to make the Proxmox VMs for Flux nodes? The answer is no, I use Terraform, but I use Ansible to make the initial baseline template. So once that template is made, you can make that however you want, I guess. You don't have to use Ansible. I've structured this in a way where these are how I define my infrastructure, right? Is this represents a Nimbus node. Give it this name, give it this Proxmox ID. This is the IP I want it to set. Put it on this this drive, this solid state drive I've got in there. I have it set a MAC address for reasons. This is explained on the home.io. I explain why I add a MAC address right here. So I'm not going to explain that right now, but home.io, scroll down. You can read why I add a MAC address to my Terraform. And then what template is going to be the starting point for this VM, right? So all I have to do is define this. Instead of making a Nimbus node, let me come and add a Cumulus node. Save that. Let me come down here. So if I did Terraform plan, all that is, Terraform is going to look at all the config, right, that I've defined, compare it against real life, and it's going to see, oh, there's a new VM has been added to your config. I need to go and create one. Oh, wait, I must not have saved. What the heck is happening? There we go. Let me rerun plan. Oh, I have a Cumulus too. Oh, I already have a Cumulus too. Okay, so my example is, okay, I've got a VM and I want to destroy it. I would just comment that out. And now Terraform is going to see you've got 3 of those Cumulus nodes out there, but you deleted one from your config. I need to go and destroy that VM. So kind of the opposite. Let's just delete it first. I didn't know it was out there. No changes. Prox Cumulus 2. Let me see here. Oh, because I've got it right here. That was a duplicate. All right. This will work now, I promise. Any other questions that are coming in? I'm literally not looking at chat. That's your job.
That's my job.
Yeah.
It
right.
says, why is BTC down? Can Doofus do something?
Because Jeff K is, he's associated with a live stream at the moment, and we all know how that goes. So yell at him. Here. So nothing to add, no settings to change, but one to destroy. And here's another quick example of it will also change your settings. If I come to Cumulus 1, I limit the network bandwidth for these nodes, right? I don't need a Cumulus node to use my full synchronous gig fiber pipe. So I limit it to the 25 up down. I just made it unlimited, right? So if I rerun plan, it's going to see even that setting changed, and it's going to say, I got to put that setting back. So Terraform is great because you know how they're configured. If you run it every day, you may have engineers in your enterprise that are, eventually your settings kind of get off. Terraform keeps so you know exactly how things are configured. So now this says one setting to change, one VM to change, one to destroy. So this is what it's going to delete. But then up here we see I got to change one setting. I got to go to this Cumulus 1, change the network rate from 0 to 3. I want it limited to 3. So it's going to do that, and that's amazing. So I'm going to run this Terraform apply auto approve. And so it's going to actually go and do the stuff that it told me it wanted to do. And so in a sec, we'll just see that this goes poof, and Cumulus 1 will have that rate 3 back here. But that's Terraform. That's how I make all of my stuff. And if I wanted to make a bunch of Cumulus nodes, I would just start uncommenting and making more of these blocks, right? That would make 4 more VMs or whatever it is. That's Terraform. It's great. It takes a lot to learn sometimes, but then you can just spin up 100 nodes literally at once if you have the hardware for it. So that's why sometimes like upfront automation is really hard to learn, but in the long run, you can kind of see how it pays off. So real quick, just to finish this up, Cumulus 2 is now deleted, and Cumulus 1 now has that setting put back. So I know exactly how my stuff's configured because it's defined in my config files, and Terraform makes it real life. So that's Terraform is on the infrastructure side. Ansible is on the configuration side. So kind of they complement each other pretty well.
Right. Exactly.
So,
yeah.
Anyway. So that's that.
So does that answer your question, Max? It is kind of 2-part a little bit. He uses the Ansible to make the templates, and then he uses Terraform to build the VMs. It's a kind of, I guess, a 2-part process.
Yep. There is, I just wanted to bring it up for posterity. There is a technical Ansible module, and you can give it the info to set this user, set this password, give it this ID. You don't have to use Terraform to make your VMs. You can run this against your Proxmox, and it will make this VM with all that info. You could use Ansible, but I don't think this module does everything that we the nerds want. So
because the Ansible, it wouldn't be able to would it check it like the Terraform does and spit back out what it needs to change?
Yeah. So a lot of these so Ansible is configuration as code, and Terraform is infrastructure as code. So all of the as codes usually follow the same structure where they have 3 operations. Like they will do 3 things. They have to have the function to go and check what data is out there, just like a get the data, and then based on what it gets, it either needs to set something or go and delete something. So a get, set, and delete. And I guess you could lump the create action in there with set. But ideally, the first thing Terraform is going to do, the first thing Ansible, like modules like this, professional modules are supposed to go and do, is go and see what's out there and see what has to happen, if anything. If nothing has to happen and it's happy, it won't do anything. right? If I come down here and now I rerun plan, it's going to tell me, hey, your environment's happy. There's nothing to do. Terraform does a git on everything and it sees nothing to do. But then here, like, yeah, a set and a destroy and a create. And so Ansible is kind of the same way if you do it professionally.
I was going to ask you, are you I guess for all the Flux nerds out there, are you planning to do some I know you do Twitch a lot, right? And I know you stream on other platforms. Are you planning on doing maybe like a workshop? There you go. I like that word. Ansible workshop and a Terraform workshop to teach other people how to how to fork your Ansible and get them started and things like that.
Yeah, that would be a great 4-hour workshop.
Maybe break it into a few weekends. You know what I mean? Like this is the part 1 or something.
I think that would be a lot of fun because there's a lot of pieces to how I do it, and you guys could, if you were watching, you could just pick the pieces you like and take what you want. Don't use the rest. But that would be fun. I just again, with my limited home hardware, I would have to just destroy all this stuff and start from scratch. But I can do that because I have the automation. I can literally get back to all of this really quickly. It would just take a long time to explain it all in a workshop, which I think that's a really good idea. But that's the beauty. If this died and I just had to reinstall Proxmox, I run one Ansible command to get basically these templates made, the Terraform user made, and all that stuff. One Terraform command to make all my VMs. So that's 2 commands so far. And then one more Ansible command with the Flux node install to then reconfigure all my Flux nodes. So in literally three commands in the terminal, I go from fresh Proxmox to all my Flux nodes are deployed, configured, started, and then I just have to go into Zelcore and, start them. Right. So it's very easy for me to rebuild because it's automated. That has never happened. I've never had to do that, but I can. So anyway, I hope that answers that. So a workshop is in the works. I'll do it. I just
Jeff Key says we'll charge CES pricing $1,500 a class.
Yeah, Canadian.
Oh, okay. Canadian, so it's only $15. It's only $15.
Yeah. I'll make a PO box just for that, so you can ship me your favorite maple syrup or whatever it is.
Maple syrup.
Anyway.
Well, it's been about an hour, guys. I guess maybe 5 more minutes, and I guess we'll call it a wrap. If you guys got any more questions for Mr. Dufus, I think I went over all of my questions here. Pretty sure I went over everything I wanted to ask. Unless there's anything else you wanted to add, Dufus.
No, not really. Just if you want to do it, you can. And like I said early on in my career, I was really kind of just buckle up your boots, shut up and do it, right? Head down, work hard, and there is value to that. But sometimes you just have to know when you just need to ask for help. And there are so many people that want to help. So yeah, if you're struggling to learn something, just it's okay to look like a doofus, because you'll be a doofus once and you'll never have to ask that stupid question again. But if you don't ask the question that you're too afraid to ask, you're going to be in the same boat for another year or 2 years if you never ask that question, right? So there's so much value in that, is just ask the question, be willing to, in our own words, this is what we tell ourselves, right? This is not the truth. Be willing to look stupid one time and learn, and you'll never have to be stupid in that area again, right? So I just really want to encourage people to do that. It's okay to ask for help. It's also okay to give up things, to just get your head down and learn something new. You can learn this stuff. None of this stuff is too technical for anybody. If a doofus can do it, that's the moral of the story. If a doofus can do it, you can too.
And then I just put his GitHub down there. If anybody out there is watching and interested, you guys can go check out his GitHub. And Like I said, you guys can fork his Flux node install, and if you want to start trying to learn, he does have some good documentation in there too. So of how to get started and things like that. So I know, Max, I know that you're probably looking at that because I know you're a node operator. I know you have a good amount of nodes at home. So this could be something that maybe you want to use in the future is Ansible and Terraform, especially since when nodes go down, it sucks, right? And especially when you run multiple nodes, it can be a lot of work if you had to go in and SSH into every single one of them. So this could literally this can save you hours of time.
If you want to use it, that's the big disclaimer. Like, you don't have to. And this is not like officially Flux supported. I just made this and a couple of people helped, and here we are. It's fun. Using Ansible is really fun. So if you want to use it, you can. And learn Ansible along the way, right? So
yeah, and don't be afraid to go in the Flux Discord and just ping Doofus for every single question.
Right. Thanks for that. Yeah. Yeah.
There's also Moat too. He loves it too. Yeah. So you can also ping Moat or any of the other guys, man. The Flux community, man. You guys are great, man, at helping people out. Well, I think it's going to conclude the interview, man. Thanks a lot for coming on the show today, man. Appreciate you taking out the time. It's
been fun. So I've said reach out a lot of times. If anyone wants to reach out to me, I'm TechDufus on everything conceivable. GitHub, Twitter. I have OnlyFans so I could claim the TechDufus username. Reddit. I'm on everything as TechDufus. I literally made an OnlyFans just to claim the username. You never know when times might get tough, and I'll have to go get a pedicure and post my feed or something. Anyway, joke. But I seriously have an OnlyFans as TechDufus. But so if you want to reach out to me, I'm TechDufus on everything. Just reach out, ask questions. I'll answer them when I can. So I'm about to fall off the planet. I've got twins coming. I've got 2 toddlers at the moment, so I'm about to double my offspring, and so I'll get pretty busy in a couple months. But until then, I am available for help. So
limited time, so hurry up, guys.
Yeah,
make sure you guys check out his GitHub, and if you guys have questions, be sure to hit him up now. Yes. Or people may like a husky guy. That says.
That'll never go away.
Gosh, man, that's a good one.
Gosh dang it. Yeah.
That's a good one. Well, thanks again, man. Appreciate it. And we'll catch y'all later.
See you, everybody.